when I accepted the ride with Mike, it was $23 and change. As soon as I pulled up, Uber offered me a $30 and change ride. And when he's walking up, I'm staring at my phone I'm about to cancel his ride and take the Uber. And I'm like, well, they're both here. They're going to see me. Do the right thing. So I let the Uber ride go away. They get in and this adventure begins. And I nearly missed this adventure over $7.
That's Gordon Holmes, the man known as My Guy, a Lyft driver who went viral after TV personality Mike Rowe took a ride from him and posted about Gordon on Facebook. He's our guest today on the Practical Faith Academy podcast. I'm Cecil Taylor of Cecil Taylor Ministries, teaching Christians how to live a 7-day practical faith. Everything I do, whether blogs, books, or videos, is about taking our faith from Sunday into the rest of the week, applying scripture and faith to life situations. In the Practical Faith Academy podcast, I add other voices with other life experiences to understand how they put faith into practice. I hope you enjoy and benefit from these podcast interviews, and I appreciate you sharing this podcast with others. Now, let me explain how I got to meet Gordon Holmes, our guest today. It started when a friend reposted a Facebook entry by Mike Rowe. He's best known as the host of the Dirty Jobs TV program on Discovery Channel. Rowe told how he had gotten a Lyft ride in Dallas, and his driver carried a purple lightsaber he used to connect with passengers at nighttime events. This driver, Gordon Holmes, presented a card to him that said, "My Guy," and gave his phone number, because everyone needs a guy to do something. Gordon told Rowe that besides driving, he did all sorts of odd jobs or whatever someone needed, even playing Santa Claus. Rowe was taken with Gordon and offered to post his business card on Facebook to attract more work and more attention. Well, has it ever? One of the many texts Gordon received was from me. There was something in the story that made me feel that Gordon Holmes just might be a man of faith. As I was looking to widen the range of folks to speak with me on the Practical Faith Academy podcast, I contacted Gordon, and sure enough, he is a man of faith, and he is with me now. So welcome, Gordon Holmes, to the podcast. Glad to have you with me. I am doing great, and I'm so glad that we were able to connect. And it was a long shot, and you're here. What has your life been like since Mike Rowe publicized you on the internet?
Well, the story that you tell, just me meeting the man and having him enthralled in my story, was one of the most exciting things that has ever happened to me. If that's all that ever happened, because, I have a lot of people in my car go tell me all kinds of things they're going to do when they get out. And he told me he was going to write a story, but I had my doubts. But if he hadn't done anything more than that, it already changed my life. But since he did do that, I have gotten so much glowing praise and love from people all over the U.S. and other parts of the country. A multitude of jobs have been thrown my way. Some people, there's a couple of big ones that are actually talking stupid good money to do things that I love to do anyway. So it could not have been a more positive influence.
Wow. That's fantastic. Now tell me how many texts, because you told people, I think, not to call you, just to text you. On average, about how many texts have you gotten a day, say in the first week or so after this happened?
My phone blew up nonstop for 4 days.
Oh,
Text and emails. And it's kind of cooled now. Depending on the hour of the day, I work overnight, so it would blow up for a while, and then it would kind of cool, 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning rolls around. But it's been pretty steady. It's whining a little bit, and that's fine. You kind of expect that.
Yeah, of course. But that's great that so many people reached out to you and that it's turning into a good thing for you. Now, you did something right after that happened that I applaud. As you realized that you were receiving so much new attention, You went on a spiritual retreat. Could you explain what your purpose was in stepping away to reflect?
Uh, you know, sometimes you you get what you ask for, and sometimes you don't realize that may be more than you wanted. Now, Mike warned me when he said, if I do this story, your life's never going to be the same. You're going to blow up on all of the platforms. and I said, well, that sounds like a great thing. And it does sound like a great thing until it happens 10 times more than you thought it was going to. Because I thought it might blow up, but it's a little more than I expected. And I had to take myself out of that situation, and because of the different type job offers, because of the different types of things being said, some of these comments were so touching that I'm in tears by the time so much love and attaboys and you're a good man and keep doing what you're doing. The world needs more like you kind of comments that I had to step back and let that settle in my heart. Now, I haven't changed my daily life from what I've done the last 30, 40 years. I've always been somebody who helps somebody who is in need. So that part of me hasn't changed, but there's not a cheerleading squad on the side cheering you on, where that has dramatically changed. And so I had to take a couple of days and get out of that and let it settle. And I had to look in and see, because some of these jobs that I'm being offered, I had to decide what I wanted my life to be. I have, an elderly father, grandkids, and do I want to take a job that takes me away from that? Do I want to do the job that keeps me in proximity? What do I want my life to be? That has never happened in my life before. My life just kind of coasted on the wind. It blows left, it blows right. Now I have options and I have to make decisions who and what I want to be.
You saying who I want to be, I think that's really vital. You had to think, how do I really want to present myself to people, right?
Well, it's not even so much that. I've been in some situations doing Uber and Lyft, and a gentleman asked me one time, I'm not going to get too into the situation, but he goes, how do you not take advantage of that? And I looked at him and I went, what are you talking about? Right is right and wrong is wrong. I still got to look myself in the mirror and be okay with whatever I do, right or wrong. It's, that's your core values. And so that's what I'm doing now, making sure that the decisions I make are well thought out and not made because of money. When I accepted the ride with Mike, it was $23 and change. As soon as I pulled up, Uber offered me a $30 and change ride. And when he's walking up, I'm staring at my phone I'm about to cancel his ride and take the Uber. And I'm like, well, they're both here. They're going to see me. Do the right thing. So I let the Uber ride go away. They get in and this adventure begins. And I nearly missed this adventure over $7.
Wow.
When he got out of the car, I had to go across the parking lot, and it took me 2 hours. I was so excited. I was vibrating. I was in tears. It took me 2 hours to calm down, smoke cigarettes. I called my one buddy, told him we're going crazy. I called 6 other people. Nobody answered the phone. So I just got to sit with it inside of me. And I made the decision right then. I will never, ever, ever make a decision based on money. For $7, none of this could have happened.
You know, that reminds me, Gordon, when you and I first met, you mentioned how an issue in your life has been the pursuit of money. And I would guess that's actually a problem for a lot of people listening right now. Could you talk about how the pursuit of money has interfered with your faith life?
You know, when you're young, you want to make all the money in the world. And I hustled very hard to do that. And it affected a marriage. It affected my son growing up. You can't replace time that you're not there because you're chasing a dollar. I can't change any of that, but I realized it. And, you know, when I would talk to my son, I said, was I a good dad? And he goes, well, yeah, when you were there. Well, I now have 5 grandbabies. And the last 3 or 4 years, I'm just working, and I work nights, so I sleep all day. I'm missing their events. I'm missing that. I'm missing this. And I went to the first soccer game that I've gone to for my grandson this Saturday. And they told me he was good and he did a lot of the scoring. I did not realize he was the star of the team. And
well, so, now you've got 4 more that you need to pay attention to also, right?
Right. And I've taken them fishing a couple of times. I took them fishing on spring break. We didn't catch anything. It did not matter to those kids. It was the first time that I took the 3 out by myself, and we had a great day. We went fishing. That didn't go that well. I poorly planned that trip. And then we went bowling, and, you know, Grandpa hung the moon. They're singing Grandpa's praises no matter how bad the day was. And I was disappointed at that thing, but it is what it is. They didn't care.
My guest is Gordon Holmes, who became, I guess he got at least 15 minutes of fame, if not more than that, because of Mike Rowe publicizing him on Facebook, and he's my guest here on the Practical Faith Academy podcast. And I need to ask you a question that I ask everybody who comes on here, which is, when I say 7-day practical faith, what does that mean to you?
Well, you know, a lot of people that I know, and a lot of people that everyone else knows, are, you know, good Christians, show up Sunday, maybe the Wednesday, whatever, get together. Well, that's all fine and good. But when you're driving down the road, sitting in traffic, and something happens that you react to, are you doing that in a Christian way? Or are you letting someone in who causes you to do things that you should not do? Most of the people that I know and my friends and family have no idea what my faith is, what I believe in, because I don't outwardly project that. But I have 5 times in my life where I absolutely am positive God's got a hand on my back, because they were near-death experiences, and I'm here to talk about it. So he has a plan for me. I don't know that he has a plan for everybody, but a couple of times in my life, you know, if you sit still and you listen and you talk, he will speak to you. He's not going to talk to you in a voice that you recognize, but you will feel it in your heart if you allow it to happen. And I've felt it, and you know, I don't preach it. I don't push it on anybody else. It irritates me when people try and push a faith on me when I'm already walking with God. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to change our relationship. If you don't have a relationship with God, then your life is going to be traumatic. You have no one to speak to. You have no one to give give yourself to.
Mm.
To sometimes you have to sit in your bedroom with your arms out and say, "Help me, please." If you talk about depression with anybody, if they've never experienced, they can't comprehend what you're talking about. And the people that have depression, they understand. Sometimes you cannot get out of bed. It's not going to happen. Sometimes you can't get in the truck to go do Uber and Lyft. You just can't make yourself do it. Even though 10 minutes in it, you're going to have a blast. It's going to change. It's going to uplift you. One foot in front of the other is awful hard sometimes. And that's what you can't get across to people who have never experienced depression.
I think that's very true, because I haven't really experienced it. I just love people who have, and it took me a long time to really get a sense of what that is. But of course, not having experienced it myself, I still don't completely understand it.
You gotta get up. You gotta put your best face on. Put one. Okay, that sounds great. I guarantee most people with depression are already putting on a face. They may go to a party, they may go to an event, and it looks like everything's fine, but there's someone inside screaming at the top of their lungs, "I just want to get out of here. I just want to go home." But they're putting on a brave face for their family and friends. And that part of life is just really difficult. And if you don't have faith in anything, and you can't give your troubles over and lighten your burden, I don't know how you deal with that. Like I said, if you cry, most people aren't prepared. Most people can't hear it. But God will guide you and will speak to you.
Gordon Holmes, who's known as My Guy, is my guest today. And Gordon, let me ask you, what do you find is the hardest part about putting your faith into practice?
If you're living it, it's not hard to put into practice. If you're trying to live it and you're not believing it, yeah, I can see it being hard. I have conversations with God all the time that nobody ever knows about. I'm not going to talk about that. That's between me and God. So I don't know how to tell somebody to live it if they don't already believe. I think God in practice, I have seen people on their very worst day and doing Uber and I've seen too much. I've seen people at their worst. I've seen them on their worst day, and I've seen them on their best. I've picked bride and groom up at weddings, taking them to the hotel for the flight the next day. And so I've seen the spectrum. In doing Uber, I've spoken to literally someone from every part of the world. I've had people from homeless all the way up to congressmen, federal judges, everything in between, every sporting athlete I've had in my car at one point, in every singer style, So when you get that, I don't know a job that you get that demographic of people, but I've seen people at their best, and I've seen them on their worst day. Not necessarily doing Uber. When you go to a wreck, it's not people's best day. And you go to fatality wrecks often. I do Uber now because I've seen all those I want to see. I drive people home. I only do nights because they need to be driven home. I've never kicked anyone out of my car. Everybody goes, "Well, you drive drunk people home?" I'm like, "Well, just the ones that'll get in the car." Isn't that a nightmare? And I said, embrace the chaos. It's not chaos. We sing and dance and tell dirty jokes. 3% of the people are belligerent, horrible drunks, but they're going to be in the car less than 20 minutes. If I kick them out of the car, they're going to immediately call another Uber, and it's going to be way worse for the next driver. I've never not taken somebody all the way to where they wanted to go and made sure they got in the house.
I really felt like it's an application of your faith to be a rideshare driver because of the way you tend to people and take care of people. You see it as a way of kind of loving on people.
I had a situation. I was dating this woman for an amount of time, and we come out of a restaurant, and some girl's having trouble with her car. Well, I've worked on cars. Girlfriend in the car, I'll go over, hey, can I help you? And she had a loose battery terminal. When I get in the car, the girl turns to me and goes, do you have to be everybody's knight in shining armor? And I looked at her and I thought, oh, what are you trying to say? What do you mean? I didn't think twice about helping the girl out, but whatever. Yeah, I guess I do. Because that's just who I am at the core. I help people that I can help. Every time.
You had a line I really like when we were talking earlier, that everyone is either a sheep, a wolf, or a shepherd. What do you mean by that phrase, and what does it have to do with living your faith?
There are people who go through life just bouncing around like a feather in the wind. They have no clue what's going on around them. They have no clue what to do if the flood starts, or if the fire starts, or if whatever tragedy. Those are sheep, and they need to be looked after. There's something in the Bible, I can't quote it exactly, that God watches over children and fools. Then there are wolves, and there are many, seems like more now than ever, who will take advantage every opportunity they get. And then I did not know I was a shepherd for many years. A friend pointed it out. A shepherd watches over the sheep and intervenes when necessary. And when it really, really, really hit home, there's a country bar in Dallas there's hot dog vendors, and I stand and I watch the crowd. And if you watch the crowd, you can see problems materialize before they get out of hand. And, everybody's had plenty to drink. Men are men, women are women. Sometimes that goes awry. There's things taken advantage of. And if I see something, I don't say anything to them. I just walk over, and I may put my hand in the small of her back if it looks like she needs to be out of that situation, and go, hey, honey, I got the car. Let's go. And she'll look at me with the gratitude in her eyes because she knows what I just did. And we go walking off. We don't go get in my car. I walk her to her car. She goes home. But when it really hit home, I'm standing out there. There's no crowd. There's just one woman ordering hot dogs. And I'm, 10 feet away from her, standing around them, looking. And she goes, who are you? And I said, I'm nobody. She goes, no, you're somebody. Who are you? And I took about 5 steps to her, and I said, I'm the shepherd. She immediately understood what I meant. Came over, hugged my neck, and told me, thank you for watching over. That doesn't happen every day, but I am out there every day. I run the bars at night. There's trafficking that goes on. There's, domestic stuff in the parking lot. And I may not directly interject myself, but I direct somebody who is in security. They have police there. I make sure they're aware of, hey, we got a situation. But there have been dozens and dozens of situations where the saying is, God will put you where you need to be. Where I have come into a situation, and that's what needed to happen. I was put in place, unbeknownst to me, where my help needed to happen.
Let me ask you as we wrap up, what is your best tip for the listeners if they're trying to develop and maintain a 7-day practical faith and putting their faith into practice? What's the best thing you can tell them?
I would say, if you're struggling and if you don't know what direction, if you can, and it's very, very, very hard to do, especially if you're raising kids, especially if the mortgage is 2 months behind. You've got, all these bricks in your wagon and lead on your shoulders. If you can find a space, even if it's your closet, that you can make it completely dark where you have no sense of space, and just breathe in and out and try and calm your mind, you will be shown a direction. And it's hard to get that space. Being in the, you've got to be in a room that's so dark that you cannot see the hand directly in front of your space. So you don't have any sense of time or space, and talk to yourself and ask God to help, and you will feel His touch. It may not happen the first time, it may not happen the second time, because you have to be ready to receive His touch. And most people have 10 people telling them what they should or shouldn't do, and I have that in my life too. Everybody can tell me how to run my business better than I can. Get in that dark space and get it out of your head. Talk about it. Get it out of your head. And ask for peace, and you will find it.
Gordon, it's been a pleasure and a delight. I know you got so many texts when all this came down, and you answered mine, and it led to this podcast. And we're also blessed that you were on today. Thank you.
Well, I was so thrilled to be invited to the party, so to say. I was never the cool kid. I never felt like I fit in, and Mike Rowe invited me to the inner circle. And for that, I'll always be grateful.
That's Gordon Holmes, and if you want to hire my guy, Gordon Holmes, or otherwise contact him, text him at 214-803-3980. Now, don't call him, because he won't answer. You've got to text. Say, the Practical Faith Academy podcast is doing something new. This is the first month that we're going from monthly to twice monthly podcasts here in June of 2024. So check back in the second half of June in order to hear episode 4. In the meantime, you can follow me on CecilTaylorMinistries.com or follow me on Facebook or on YouTube by searching for Cecil Taylor Ministries. I have a free mini ebook for you called 7 Ways the Holy Spirit Speaks to Us. If you will go to the Cecil Taylor Ministries homepage, CecilTaylorMinistries.com, just respond to the pop-up or scroll down the page to the orange box at the bottom of the page, and by registering for my free subscriber newsletter, you can receive 7 Ways the Holy Spirit Speaks to Us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.